Yo, yo, it's the RedBlue podcast crew. Reviewing flicks, both old and new. Red and blue, not political. Nah, man, chill. It was Marvel versus DC till we lost that thrill. Don't stress the episode, don't ask the season. We double up franchises, don't ask for a reason. Moti's got rules that nobody gets. His takes on movies, they're wild as it gets. He's got Superbald Mac and Gray by his side. Trying to keep it sane while they're in for the ride. Moti's measures are out of control, but in the end he's got the final role. Yeah, that blue podcast, come check the scene. Movies old and new, know what I mean?
Guys, guess it, we are live. How are you, Gray?
Yeah, doing pretty good, man. You know, it's Tuesday. It's a good time. Glad to be talking about a movie.
Thank you very much for the new intro. That's amazing.
Yeah, I love it.
Hi,
thank you.
nice.
That's great courtesy. He made it. Thank you, Gray. What about you, Superbald? How are you?
I am very, very tired. I'm gonna go to bed soon after this is done. But
Damn. Okay.
and my allergies are killing me, so I'm gonna do my best to mute myself when I
Oh man.
feel a
Oh,
sneeze coming on.
I feel you. I feel you.
Yeah, it's normally this
Same.
time of year they don't bother me, but we're having a very, very late spring, autumn. I mean,
Yeah,
you can tell I'm tired.
I have the
Yeah.
same problem. I have the same problem.
What about you, Matt? How are you today?
I'm okay. I'm happy to be here to talk cinema with all of you. All of you guys. It's always fun to talk cinema. But this week I don't have much to say about this movie. But we'll see. So yeah, I'm happy to be here. And you, Malty, how are you?
I'm doing great. We will talk about a movie that surprised me because that movie was fun. Very fun. Thank you, Gray, for choosing that. And with that, we will move on to a second intro.
Not funny. Shut up. Shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. Not funny.
So, Gray, before we get into the movie, I will ask you,
Yeah.
Snatch. Why
Okay,
Snatch?
so I do actually have a reason for it this time, and that's because of you. You know, you seem to like some of these I don't know, action movies. Statham has come up a few times, and it seems like you like these kind of brainless ones. But I feel like you hadn't seen some of these kind of classic ones that are infinitely more rewatchable than I don't know, The Beekeeper, something along those lines.
The beekeeper. Yeah.
So I was kind of debating between this or Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, which I think Superbald actually had on his list for
Yep.
next season, which is awesome. I went with Snatch because I thought first off, it's a little bit newer, and for some reason that means something to Multi, but it is a little bit flashier. It's Guy Ritchie's second film, where Lock, Stock was his first one. So I don't know, just what he shows here, like the precision and editing, and just man, the way he's able to edit comedy and action so well. Just for this being his sophomore film is just incredible. So I figured I could show you a little something about some of your favorite stars, Multi. That's why I wanted to bring this film to you. But out of curiosity, you had never seen this before, Multi?
I did hear about it, and maybe as a child it was passing on TV or something, but I don't think I've ever sit through the entire thing. But as I was watching it, there are some parts of the movie that were kind of familiar, where I was like, that looks like something I did see, but I don't think I've ever seen the entire thing. And that's funny because it's kind of the same thing with another movie you chose in the back half of this season that will take place at some point early 2025. But yeah, I'm glad you recommended that. That was great. Like among the old movies, that's one of my favorites.
The old movies. I mean, I guess it's 24 years old now. It is from the year 2000. So Fair enough. I guess I just don't view this as like among the old movies. But
You constantly make me feel old, dude. Whenever you say stuff like that.
I don't know. But yeah, so also a weird connection to this multi. So you're a fan of some Matthew Vaughn movies. He's the guy who did Kingsman,
Yeah.
Argyle, a bunch of those other ones. So he's actually the producer for a bunch of Guy Ritchie movies, but basically up until Layer Cake, he was just a producer, and Guy Ritchie was supposed to make that one and just said, like, I'm not gonna do it. So that's the only thing that forced Matthew Vaughn into directing. If it wasn't for that, he would still just be producing movies. But yeah, this whole thing kind of spawned his legacy too. So Lock, Stock was his second movie producing, and this was his third. So really early in these two guys' career, they came together and made this really awesome movie, or really interesting movie, I should say. Perhaps you don't like it as much.
I thought that was an amazing movie. Sadly I don't have much to say about it, and I guess I will start on the movie. I will admit I was hooked by the humor, and I will ask Matthew Vaughn. I think that's how we spell him. Why being so obsessed with Jews? Do we have like
so that would have been Guy Ritchie. He's the guy who wrote this one. Matthew Vaughn was just the producer. But you know, it's a part of culture, and then this has to do largely with the diamond trade, and culturally they do have a predominant role in kind of the diamond trade. So it's kind of necessity. It's not so much in Lock, Stock, and I think there's a couple other ones that he has something like that. I know he's got another one that's like Bob the Head or something, who would be related to Doug the Head in this one. But yeah, I don't know. This one, I think it's just because of the diamond trade is why they're so heavily kind of featured in this.
Interesting. I thought that movie music was well chosen. The characters were likable, and Jason Statham, I think I will like pretty much anything he's in.
Really?
Yeah, like I remember seeing Crank. I think I was too young to see it, but hey, things happen.
So
Crank.
I almost put the Cranks on my list because I was like, well, that's obviously Multi's like speed. Like this is meant for Multi. It's got Jason Statham and it's mindless action.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, let me go against that. Let me get Jason Statham's second film. So if it wasn't for Guy Ritchie, you'd have no Jason Statham.
No.
He literally launched his career. So he saw Jason Statham like on the street, like just kind of holding court, selling stuff on like a blanket or whatever. He is a former diver for the UK. Like he was a professional diver, and then that career kind of ended, and I guess he just became like a street barker guy. And Guy Ritchie just kind of stumbled upon him and was like, this guy has charisma. I'm going to make him the lead. And he kind of made him the lead of his first one. And that's the first film that he's ever done. This is his second. I don't know. This is not my least favorite Statham performance. And for this being his second time on camera, that's kind of amazing.
I agree with that 100%. And I thought this movie was just very funny. Like I did laugh a lot, and the action was wonderful. Like every aspect of that movie is nailed for me. Like I don't remember being that much entertained about an old movie for like 2 hours. I thought that was 2 hours. Yeah, I think it's 2 hours. But the runtime did pass through so fast. And again, it's a bit sad. I don't have that much more to say, but for a mindless action flick, man, I had a great trip.
No, this is not mindless action flick. That's my point. Like you can have action, you can have comedy. It doesn't have to be mindless. It doesn't have to be The Beekeeper.
No, this movie is very clever.
I will also admit there was a scene.
I'm not going to say it's high art, but it's a very clever film.
I will say that there was a funny joke about a car cheaper than clothes. I think that's my favorite line in the movie. That line just deleted me. I was like out of it. I was like, man, they really thought about
the
it.
dialogue in this movie is amazing.
I agree, and there's a lot of showing. I like that. When
Hmm.
your media is visual and they
Exactly.
show you instead of telling you.
It's sort of
That's
the golden rule of movies: show, don't tell.
Yeah, and that movie does that so well.
And Guy Ritchie does something phenomenal with the show, the storytelling, and how he show the camera. Something is fast, some is focused.
Yeah,
I like
exactly.
the
The
gimmick, the
all
gimmick.
the shots are very like a lot of close-ups. Everything is very tight. The editing is
Yeah,
very tight.
I like that.
And I think that's it for now for my review, because again I don't have much more to say, but I had a blast. Thank you, Gray, for suggesting this. I will pass on the mic to Matt.
Yes, it's the first time I see this movie. I heard this movie before. I want to say I'm not a big fan of Guy Ritchie. I start to follow him with this Sherlock Holmes movie. I'm a big fan of this movie, Sherlock Holmes and Sherlock Holmes 2. After that, I see all this movie, but this first movie I don't see this movie. But I'm happy to saw Snatch.
To
Is the
see.
second to see the Snatch movie is the second movie he does, and we can see with this movie the style of Guy Ritchie start there. Guy Ritchie has some unique way to film this movie. This project, yeah, the camera, the storytelling, the evolution of the character, the twist in the when in the plot, gives you a unique way to create something unique in cinema. I like that for that. Uh, but for this movie, I see it like a funny movie. I appreciate the humor, the ice, the part of the ice, and so many great actor in it. Jason Statham, Benicio del Toro, we have Stephen Graham, Brad Pitt. You have so many great actors in this movie. Maybe not much actress in this movie, unfortunately. But other than that, is a good movie. I see this movie in French, so maybe Gray or Super or you can correct me. But when I see this movie in French, I can understand what Brad Pitt say in all the movie. Yeah, the translation is so weird, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was wondering.
even in the English version, you can barely understand him.
I was wondering if they like dubbed him or if they left in like his actual performance, because like he's supposed to be almost indecipherable. So if you're not using subtitles, I mean, you can kind of understand Dag, but other than that, like not much.
No,
I
yeah.
think that was maybe the point of that character. I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah,
it is.
yeah, I see that because all other character talk with him is he can understand him, so he repeat, and try to understand. It's funny to see, but man, Brad Pitt is so into it with this character. He's the only non England actor, so he mimic some accent, and the accent is so weird. He's not Irish, he's not not England. Is I don't know what is the accent, but man, hard
Yeah,
time to follow him in the movie. It's funny to follow because he's a boxer. He smashed people, and he have a great presence and great charisma in the movie. But when he talk, man, I lost. I am lost. But other than that, I think is a good movie. Not a big movie. I see many critics say it's a solid movie. Not agreed with that. Is this movie had many flaw, many many little thing did not work for me. We work with two storyline, and some moment the two storyline merge. And at the moment it's interesting, but the way is it combined these two storyline not work for many point for me. But it's Gurichi style, so he start there, and after that he does this with the other movie, and much his work much greater with the other movie than this movie. But if yeah, you need to start somewhere, he start here, and I give him that for that. For the second movie is good, is very good movie, and yeah, for me, I have fun to follow that, and I like to watch England movie. England cinema not the same in the American cinema. It's not the same ambience, the same style, and I like that. I like to see I like to see movie from England for the difference with the American movie. So yeah, for I think I'm done.
I do my Dre right now. Thank you for sharing. Superbald, what did you think of Snatch?
Funnily enough, even though I'm a big fan of Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, this is a DVD I've owned for about 20 years. It's among the first DVDs I ever owned. Funnily enough, I had never seen Snatch up until now. It was one of those movies that I kept putting it off. I'm like, oh, I'll get to it eventually, and then I never did. But I really liked it. Great cast. Anyway, Jason Statham is awesome in this movie. I don't think Jason Statham is somebody who has a very big acting range, but when he's in his element, he is amazing. And in Snatch or Lock, Stock, you would not believe that this was his first two movies. You would think this is a guy who had been acting for a good while. Brad Pitt, amazing in the film as well, and he's just as indecipherable in the English version. The accent that he has in the English version is some sort of like really bastardized Irish kind of accent. Great actor, a lot of great British actors. Stephen Graham, I recognize him from Band of Brothers. He had a small role in that. Vinnie Jones, who was also in Lock, Stock. He was a former football player, or soccer as we call it here, but football over there. Benicio del Toro, he's not British, obviously, but he was amazing in this movie, as always. The late, great Dennis Farina was also in this movie. He was the guy who played Cousin Abby, the one who came over from New York. I don't know, he's been dead for a few years, but he used to be in everything. He would pop up in everything. It was a character actor who always played either a role similar to what he played in this movie, or a cop, or something like that. I have no idea how to actually pronounce his name, but Raid Surdejia. Anyway, the guy who played oh damn, I can't remember his name now, but the Russian Boris, yes, and he is well. I mean, this guy's been in everything. He was in.
He's the Russian guy in all movie, man.
Yeah, exactly. He was in John Wick, and I can't even think of all the movies he was in. But whenever you want a Russian bad guy, this is the dude you get.
The funny thing is not Russian. That's funny thing is not a Russian actor. So yeah.
Yeah. I also recognized Ewan Bremer, who played Spud in Trainspotting. He had a small role in this movie. Yeah, I would say Guy Ritchie, his strength is definitely writing great characters. Even characters who aren't on the screen for very long, they're quite memorable and they stick with you. And the dialogue in his movies are amazing. I've actually only seen 3 of his movies now: Lock, Stock, Snatch, and the first Sherlock Holmes that he did. Those are the only movies of his that I know that I've seen. But I do want to
skip a bunch of them. Those are 3 decent ones to start with. Definitely don't watch his third one. That's Swept Away, where he and a recently married Madonna, they got together and made a vanity project for her, and it almost killed his career.
Oh yeah, that's
you did good skipping that.
Oh yeah, that was the period where Madonna spoke with a British accent for some reason.
Well, she married, Guy Ritchie.
Yeah, and she somehow acquired his accent. Very badly, though. Some people have said that this movie was just a remake of Lock, Stock, and I don't agree with that. It's not Lock, Stock 2.0. I mean, there are a lot of similar plot beats, and saw a lot of the same actors and a lot of the same subject matter. But I don't I don't consider it like a remake or a ripoff. It is like in the same vein as Lock, Stock. It's different stories going on that are all intertwined, and then they all crash together at the end. And just when you think the I guess you would say the hero of the movie has gotten himself scot-free, turns out no, not really. I'm not really spoiling anything from Lock, Stock by saying that. But the movies are just like, yeah, they're similar, but they're distinct enough that they're not. I wouldn't call them like the same movie. And as I mentioned earlier, the editing in this movie is awesome. And all the shots are very tight, and the editing is very, very tight and efficient. It moves the plot along. It never feels like it's dragging. And as Matt was saying, there's a lot of show don't tell in this movie, which is awesome. But a lot of it's subtle too. That if you might not pick up on it, or it's only important later in the movie. You're like, oh well, that's why that happened, or that's why they showed that thing. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. There's I don't have a whole lot to say. I love the movie. I like the movie, but I struggled to come up with stuff to say, honestly.
That's fine.
same
I
for
was
me.
the same.
The same for me too. I want to add a little something about Jason Statham. I like to see him in this movie because after that he started to doing the action movie, and all this movie is not memorable. Few of them are good or great, but like recently the Beekeeper, like we say, is a okay movie for action. But this character is just Jason Statham does Jason Statham. Before that, he does Make Two. Same. Jason Statham does Jason Statham. Is sad to see because when he started his career, he has some role with a good character like this Snatch, transporter movie. But in the recent year, I feel like Jason Statham just lost the fun to play character in movie. He just does Jason Statham like The Rock does The Rock in all this movie. It's sad to see, but in Snatch you can see his character has some talent, but he not use that anymore. So it's sad to see. Yeah.
Yeah, I get the feeling that his character in Snatch and probably and in Lock, Stock were written specifically for him to play to his strengths because Guy Ritchie's the guy who discovered him. So I think that's probably why his characters are so great in these films.
Yeah, I see that because when you see in the Meg 2, Fast and Furious, but the Fast and Furious 7, he was good in it, but Meg and the other movie he does mechanic, the spikes, expectable. He does the same role again and again. It's kind of
I have not seen any of those. And
yeah,
I'm not particularly interested, honestly.
In past 10 years, he does the same role again and again in all different movie, and it's not fun anymore.
I don't know if it's a case of him going for those type of roles, or that it's just that's unfortunately the only kind of roles he gets offered. When he might be typecast. Who knows?
I think he's
typecast.
Or it might be a combination of both. Who knows?
Because he become an action figure in American cinema. So yeah, but I hope he can do other role than just action movie. But we will see.
Only future will tell.
Yeah.
And we will let the guy that shows them movie talk now.
The gray.
The
man, the mustard. Yeah. So I just absolutely love this film. So I've heard it compared to, there's a video out there on YouTube that calls this the most rewatchable movie ever. I don't know if I'd go that far with it, but he kind of breaks down like what makes a movie rewatchable, and he goes down to like 6 points, and one of them is definitely the music, one of them's the dialogue, and man, this one has some of the most quotable dialogue. Dennis Farina, as Superbald was saying, is just, he always plays a character very similar to this, but as Avi in this one, man, like every line is just so quotable. Like just his introduction, where his flying across country, the montages are great, but just man, the Dennis Farina, like just the second that he gets off the plane, just like sit down and shut up, you big bald fuck. Like it's just it's so great. Just like everything about him is so quotable. Like when he's talking to Tony and they're in the office and the dog has supposedly eaten the thing. He's like, all right, open the dog. I don't know, like just these lines are just so amazing. I absolutely love it. So to me, it's super quotable. And then the music, every single one of the needle drops in this is just perfect. So prior to Lock, Stock, Guy Ritchie had made a couple of music videos. So that's really where he kind of got his editing style, which is super fast, super quick. And then he also worked a lot with different frame rates so that you could speed things up and slow things down. A lot of that works really well with music and then certain editing to the beats. He just had a flow to his editing. And I think that was really his strongest suit in the first two films. And then, he married Madonna and things went weird. But,
I feel like you don't like that.
It changed his trajectory. So I don't think this is a copy of the first film, like Superbald is saying, but there's very similar elements. It's about crime, organized crime, and kind of different seedier aspects of like the UK culture. So there's similar things going on in them, but man, they're so different. And I guess after he wrote Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, so first off, it's kind of amazing that he wrote it. Apparently he's really suffers from dyslexia, so it was really hard for him to actually write a script to begin with. So he kept looking for a script that he could shoot after he'd done these music videos, and he found it really hard to find the kind of script that he was looking for. So finally he decided, like, okay, I have to write it. And then he just, apparently it was just arduous process of really trying to get his idea out due to kind of the dyslexia. But man, that first film is just like so amazing. And then when you see the progression to this film where you've got all these intertwined plots, I know Matt was saying that it didn't quite work for him, that like these two things don't quite work at all. To me, there's like 5 different plots, and it's so amazing. And the way that they all intertwine with each other and then come together at a head at this amazing boxing match, like right at the end, this bare knuckle boxing match. It just works so perfectly for me. I understand that it doesn't for everybody, and that's just fine. But to think that, you know, somebody battling dyslexia is writing this amazing dialogue and just these interweaving plots and just does it so masterfully on his second try, like, oh, for me, that's just amazing. And it gives me hope that, you know, maybe I could actually do something worthwhile someday. But so I guess to kind of start on, so it has been claimed that this is the most infinitely rewatchable. I did forget a few of the other points, but for me, it's close. If you're going to talk in British cinema, there's one that I've watched way more than this one, and that would be Shaun of the Dead. But Edgar Wright gets a lot of influence from this, including a couple of the needle drops. There is one track that is just he actually uses that exact same one, which I guess what Guy Ritchie was doing, why a lot of the songs are just like amazing and really hit on this, is he really was asking the crew, and every pub they went to, they kind of looked for what was the most popular song that people kept requesting. So it was kind of one of these things where they were really trying to get like the different pub songs that really kind of spoke to the cast and crew. And it feels like they got a lot of really amazing needle drops in this one. And then his editing style mixed with that, just the visuals. There's so many scenes in this that if I was going to depict something, I think I would go back to this to like do his montages, to do the ramping up and ramping down. His slow-mo is so different than Zack Snyder's, but it feels so earned. Especially the fight scene at the end, that boxing match. It just feels like visually there, editing it's there, music is there, dialogue is there, and then the overall story, it just has so much interest. And then the main thing, the other reason that I haven't mentioned that I chose this for multi, is the pacing in this. It is just breakneck. It's just one thing happens, another happens, and it just keeps going and going and going. The only time it really gives you time to breathe is when you need some time to breathe. And that's when Mickey's mom's caravan unfortunately gets burned down with her sleeping in it. Just that's the only part where it just really kind of slows down and just lets you kind of be in that moment. And you see Mickey kind of running and his friends holding him back. Just man, that's the only time it really gives you a moment to live in anything. Other than that, just the editing is just so snappy that it goes from like one scene to the next, just almost infinitely. But so that's one of the reasons why they're saying that it's infinitely rewatchable and perhaps the most rewatchable movie. I think that's overstating it a little bit. So I haven't watched this in like a decade, but man, yeah, I'm surprised how much I remembered. And then I was just wondering if it's going to hold up. I remembered liking it like a decade ago when I did my last rewatch, but almost everything still holds up. I don't know if the term that they're calling the caravan, the travelers, I don't know if that's now offensive or anything like that. So that might not have held up. And then there's like one monologue that Bullet Tooth Tony gives that
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
I guess it could be seen as somewhat offensive, but it's not coming from a good guy. It's coming from some guy who, has bullets for teeth. It kind of feels like perhaps he is not the most.
Yeah, it's not exactly character assassination.
Yeah. So I don't know. I wonder if those same scenes would be there today. But other than that, it feels like it really kind of holds up. So I guess kind of going into this film. So we owe a whole lot. Jason Statham's career, Vinnie Jones's career, Guy Ritchie's career, Matthew Vaughn's career, all to Tom Cruise for a little reason. If it wasn't for him, none of these guys would have actually gone on to what they ended up doing in this film. But there is one person who would have been just fine, and that would have been Brad Pitt. He was like the only name in this. But so why Tom Cruise is the one who made this at all possible is after Lock, Stock was made, they got like no offers on it. There was one offer that was direct to VHS, and it would have been probably just forgotten as some tiny British film. It had like no interest in it whatsoever, which really sucks. But they happened to have Sting in that movie, and Sting's partner happened to be one of the producers on it. So they asked that producer, who happened to, I can't remember what agency Sting was with, but I believe it was through his agency, like, hey, Tom Cruise, right? Can you get him to one of these, I forget what they call it, but they show it to a bunch of studio heads and see if they have any interest in the film. But it's like one of these private screenings. And nobody was interested in the film at all. They just had like very junior level execs there. Nobody that really mattered that could actually sign on or give any money to this film. And then they got Tom Cruise to enter the room. And the second that he did and started watching this movie, just, man, apparently the junior execs all got on the phones with like their higher execs, and then the bosses all came in because Tom Cruise had this interest in watching this film that for some reason he's at this studio screening of. So after the film, Tom Cruise gets up and he just starts saying like how amazing this film is and how it's just genius and that anybody who bought it would be very lucky. And then just kind of walks out. And that started this bidding war. So that kind of got Guy Ritchie's name out there, which he was absolutely nothing before this. But after this and after that studio bidding war, people got to notice Lock, Stock. And it really put Guy Ritchie's stock like huge and really high up to where he was called kind of England's Tarantino, essentially. And then this film didn't exactly help him with that reputation. People kind of saw this and they see, some parts of it are non-linear storytelling. There's a lot of very prominent kind of needle drops. There's some interesting camera work. Like there's a lot of shots from inside like trunks or boxes or things. And there is some kind of homage to other films that are going on in this. So a lot of people kind of kept putting on that he is this like next Tarantino thing. And he had a lot of heat. So because he had a lot of heat coming off of Lock, Stock, Brad Pitt actually phoned him up, and this was just after he had done Fight Club. So this was like Brad Pitt at his peak, like stardom or whatever. And he just calls up Guy Ritchie and is like, hey, I really want to do your next movie. Do you have a part for me? And apparently Guy Ritchie was like, no real person wanted to be in any of my films before. Like we had Sting and we had to like beg to get him in there. Again, since his partner was like producing it, they had to like kind of strong arm him to just be this little part in Lock, Stock, which is kind of cool. But yeah, so he's like, yes, I have a part for you. And then I don't know if you guys have seen Inglourious Bastards, but have you seen Brad Pitt try and do an accent? It does not work. So yeah, and he realized every single part that he had written really was like a strong character, but they needed to have like a real authentic accent. So he actually wrote the part of Mickey for him and basically made him unintelligible so that he could get away with this accent thing, because he really can't quite do an accent, but he doesn't have to really do an accent. It's kind of Irish, but kind of just mumbled. Like it's very strange, but it works. And I think it's one of my favorite Brad Pitt roles. Like it's strange because
apparently he was reluctant.
Apparently
he was reluctant to do it just because, as you said, he had just done Fight Club and he didn't want to play a boxer in this movie after having just done Fight Club.
Yeah, but he kind of trusted Guy Ritchie after seeing Lock, Stock. You should see Lock. If you enjoyed this one, you should see Lock, Stock. Some think it's a more pure version of this one, but it's very similar. It's in the same vein. It's kind of got the same humor, same editing. It's great.
I'd actually completely forgotten that Sting was in it. I haven't watched it in a while, but he's on the back cover actually.
Well, he's the biggest
where
name
my finger is.
Back when he wanted to be an actor, he does many roles.
Well, he was in the 1980s Dune, and
yeah.
I don't think he acted much after that though.
He act in the Camelot Part 1 is a French movie. He does Saxon.
Okay.
He speak French. He speaks French, and he won in the first season of Murder in the Building in the TV show. And
I love that.
He played this role. He played this. He played himself. So if I need to see him, but yeah, he's not a big actor. He's good for singing, but yeah.
But when he's playing himself in Only Murders in the Building, he's willing to kind of be the butt of the joke, which is kind of awesome. I would have assumed that he'd be a little bit more pretentious than that and wouldn't allow himself to be a punchline. But man, that could be my favorite Sting role. But
I actually really liked his cameo in The Simpsons as well.
Fair enough.
When he was playing himself, and they were doing the charity single. That's when Bart fell down the well.
I forgot about that. That is awesome.
That is old though. He doesn't know it because it was before his time.
True. Also, I don't think he cares. Fair enough. But yeah, like just so many things about this movie are just. Sorry, apparently my dog is just whining. Let me try and shut him up. Okay, so there's so many things I love about this movie, and not the least of which are just the characterization. Like, yes, there's like 100 different characters in this, but it feels like everyone is a real character. Everyone is actually thought out. Every one of these people exists, and you kind of know who these characters are. Multi, did you recognize anyone from quite a few seasons or something that you'd watched recently?
Oh yeah, Vinnie Jones. Not
Jones.
the guy he was in Arrow third season, and I think he came back for season 7-ish. The bald guy. There's a lot of bald guy, but that's one of the bald guy. Was he really bald in Snatch? I can't remember if he was really bald in Snatch, but I know he was bald in Arrow.
He was an X-Men too. He was the Juggernaut, bitch.
Oh, you're right.
Vinnie Jones is awesome, but did you notice Lenny Jones? No. So Lenny with an L. So he played Saul, so one of the inept pawn shop owners. But that's Morgan from The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
You've known him for years, man.
You're right.
Yeah,
right.
That was like one of the last few good things about the later season of
I forgot that dude's British.
Yeah, he really comes off as just whatever mid-Atlantic accent in there. I just view him as non-accented, but man, it's kind of awesome to see some of his early work. And I don't know if he was putting on more of an accent here, but yeah, Lenny James, excuse me. For some reason I was calling him Lenny Jones, I guess because of Vinnie Jones. But Lenny James is awesome. I love that actor. And then Vinnie Jones, he also kind of owes his career to Guy Ritchie. In Lock, Stock, I guess the character description of Vinnie Jones's character was Vinnie Jones type, which Vinnie Jones was just an ex-footballer at the time. So they're like, oh, well, who's a better Vinnie Jones type than Vinnie Jones? And turns out he wanted to get into acting. So it worked out for everybody. But yeah, I would say so Guy Ritchie seems to have a whole bunch of strengths, but one of his seems to be finding actors, because man, the casting in these films are just amazing. So we mentioned a whole bunch of them, but yeah, just Ewan Bremer, he is awesome. Like, he had a few roles before this, but like Trainspotting, obviously. But man, this really kind of put him forward to a lot of these kind of bigger movies that he was in. And then Stephen Graham, so he didn't even audition for this movie. He wasn't supposed to be in it. Apparently, he just was in the or his friend was going to an audition there. He happened to be in the waiting room for it, and Guy had used him in a short film before and was like, wait, who are you auditioning for? And basically forced him to be in the movie. But his career was not going so great before this. Like, he had done kind of bit parts on a whole bunch of British television, but this really put him in the forefront, where then he went on to Bands of Brothers and a whole bunch of other ones. And man, he just seems to be like he just seems to be a British staple now. Same thing with, Jason Statham, although not only British. That dude is like an action staple now. But everyone in this seems to have really gone on to so much more. Man, he just has an eye for really finding some amazing talent. And he has this future one, which I don't think anybody will ever talk about, but it's called Rock and Rolla. But like, everybody that he casts in that went on to like huge stardom. Like, he does have an eye for kind of finding the right people at the right time. And then, man, do they seem to explode just after that. But and Benicio del Toro, like, he had done quite a few things before this, but he was kind of the second biggest name in this. And just, I guess Guy Ritchie had exactly how he wanted the character to be. He gave him a bunch of line readings and then told him exactly what he wanted, hit record, and just, man, Benicio del Toro did not do anything that he said, and just did the part the way that he wanted to do it, including that like super over the top kind of booby talk. That was just all Benicio, just how he wanted to do it. So I don't know. You were asking before, like, is there a focus on, Jews in particular in this? I think a lot of it has to do with, the diamonds, but also Benicio brought a lot of that weirdness to it himself and just wanted to act in that particular way. So it's weird. It's a culmination of some things. But man, just the editing in this is just so tight and so fast, and it just kind of goes from plot line to plot line to plot line, and it never feels quite rushed. It feels like you have enough to where you're understanding what's happening in each scene. But man, the breakneck pace of this, just I knew it would actually get Malty's attention, because Malty, he doesn't like those like long extended talking scenes. So this doesn't have a ton of it.
Agree.
But what it does have, and it is kind of a staple in Guy Ritchie movies, is somebody doing narration, and they're kind of giving some of the I guess you would call it like expositional dialogue, but at the same time he's giving you a bunch of visuals. Oftentimes it's over like a montage of some kind, or they're showing things, but you're still getting this kind of narration that just keeps giving you information, but he does it in a way that really kind of works. Like, for me, Jason Statham in this one just does an amazing narration of a whole bunch of these different scenes, and it kind of ties everything together in a weird way that just, it works for me. Apparently it didn't work nearly as well for Matt, but finally you get to where all of these things kind of intersect. Just that one scene in traffic where you've got kind of the three cars going in different directions. You've got Turk and Tommy who are going to Boris's house because his gun doesn't work for some reason. You have Boris who's in the back of Avi's car, well, Tony's car, and Avi is in there with him. And then you have Saul and Tyrone and Vinny in the other car with the dog. And, for some reason, it kind of shows you it out of order. It shows you first Saul has to try the replica gun with the blanks just to make sure that it actually works. And that, distracts them and blows out the windows. And then it has the whole milk talk between Tommy and Turk. And it just, man, to see the payoff in that. So there is one of the biggest discrepancies in this film in that part. So Turkish has a brown milk, which would have been chocolate milk. And when Tommy throws it out the window, it clearly is white milk on Tony, his windscreen when it hits it. It's clearly just regular milk. It should have been chocolate. But I guess
I
I'll let
honestly
that
didn't
go.
even notice.
I noticed.
I didn't.
It is one mistake. It should have been chalky milk, but it was not. But that's just fine. But yeah, I just like the way that it kind of shows you those a little bit out of order. So then you understand once you see the milk hit the windscreen and these kind of disoriented guys walking around or driving while there's a guy walking around kind of like a chicken in the middle of the road. Just, man, the way that all of that kind of worked. The editing in that is just so tight, and
I love that
works for
they.
comedy.
I love that they showed it 3 times from the 3 point of views instead of trying to find a way to show all 3 of them at once in real time.
Yeah, I just think it works so much better for the comedy, and it kind of makes you wonder, like, okay, so wait, what was going on there? Like, they just hit a guy, like now we're over, and it just, man, for me that just plays out so well, and even when you know what's going on there, just the way that he shows it, just it's comedic gold for me. And that's the other part is, even though I know these jokes, somehow they still really work for me, and they still really land, and it feels like the joke is coming from these characters and just the situation they're in. The other one that's super comical for me is the like worst, I guess you'd call it the bookie heist or worst betting parlor heist ever. So I guess Guy Ritchie had been looking through a bunch of like CCT footage of a bunch of different robberies and stuff, like the dumbest criminals type thing. And there is a real one where it you can find it on YouTube, but it's almost exactly the same thing that happens in this one. They go in with guns, and one of the guys reaches across the counter, and then the actual screen just comes up and like kind of traps him in it. And then he's able to kind of get his way out of that, but then he's just stuck in this room with these, like security walls up, and he thinks he's locked in there, but he just didn't try pulling the door. He just kept pushing on it, and he couldn't get out. He couldn't figure it out. And that dude actually got caught. So the stupidity of this actual robbery of the bookies, it is actually based off of a real crime that sort of happened or attempted to happen in the UK. So
why am I not surprised?
Really, I didn't know that. But that's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah, it plays out almost exactly like that. Like the guy doesn't shoot the wall and then make the lady drop the screen or whatever. He embellished it a little bit, but just, man, the criminals
sometimes you see these things in movies and you think to yourself, "Oh, that would never happen in real life." But yeah, sometimes it does.
And the take that he uses, the one actor who plays Vinny, he actually shoots that shotgun, and the kickback of it actually like hits him really hard, like right in the genitals. And they still use that same take, and that guy was still such a professional that he like then runs over to the hole in the wall and puts the gun through. But man, apparently that's the take that really injured him. So that kind of blows, but it just kind of adds to the stupidity of the worst robbery ever. So I don't know. It's just like little things like that totally work for me. But again, everything is just so fast paced and just working up until you get to this like emotional, I don't know what you want to call it, but the lowest note when you see Mickey's mom's caravan just actually taken out and kind of so unceremoniously. I love that it actually gives you some room to breathe. I do think that he's a master with pacing in some of his movies. Some of them are a little bit different, but yeah, just this one to me, it has. Sorry, my dog is whining. I'm not sure if the mic is picking it up, but
I actually heard him.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay.
I have a little bit of popcorn on my desk, and apparently he just wants it. Yeah, but everything about this is just so awesome. I love a lot of the lines that are in there. Just most of it's Dennis Farina, but almost everybody else is just infinitely quotable. I guess the one part that I didn't talk about is the other Tarantino reference. I don't know if you guys picked it up at the very beginning. So Turkish is narrating, and then he's talking like, what do I know about diamonds? And then it kind of switches over to this really fun scene where they're kind of showing you Benicio del Toro and his gang getting into this diamond trade to get the big diamond, but they just keep kind of cutting from security camera to security camera. This really fun way of kind of showing you movement where the camera is really just, locking and just barely moving from screen to screen. But that whole time, Benicio del Toro is doing a monologue about the Virgin Mary. It's supposed to be kind of a callback to Reservoir Dogs, where
I'm like a virgin.
Exactly, the Madonna song,
Yeah.
like a virgin, where they're talking about it and going into the meaning behind it, I guess you'd say. It was supposed to be a reference to that, where they're not saying like a virgin, but he's talking about the Virgin Mary in kind of the same way. So that's another reason why they kind of call him like a ripoff of Tarantino. But I think he understands what he's doing an homage to. And then I guess we should talk about the Madonna part, which I think it screwed up Guy Ritchie for a little while, but fair enough. I guess the weird coincidence, my dog that is whining, his name is Rocco. Madonna and Guy Ritchie did have a kid, and they named their kid Rocco. My dog is not named after him, but just weird coincidence. But yeah, so when they introduce Bullet Tooth Tony, they have a little bit of a Madonna song playing. And then when he picks up the mullet, the guy who he puts his head in the window and starts driving with him, he starts saying, "Oh, I love this song." And it happens to be Lucky Star by Madonna. So reportedly, they had to pay Madonna $1 million to use that song. The budget of this movie was $6 million. Or 6 million pounds. And so a good portion of the
1/6 of the budget.
Yeah, and I think a good portion of it went to Brad Pitt as well, seeing as how he was, kind of a big name. But man, it is kind of interesting that they just had to use that song. But I guess getting the rights to that song is how he ended up getting to know Madonna. Also, his fame was on the rise. Tom Cruise championed him, and he was just seen as like the next big thing. So Madonna was big at the time, and they met and they fell in love apparently and got married. And then his next film is seen as a vanity project for her, and it ended her acting career, which is kind of a good thing for all of us. I don't know, like she was in some fun things before, like Desperately Seeking Susan.
I thought she was good in A League of Their Own. That's the only thing I could say.
I was going to say,
I thought where she was.
A League of Their
Own
is awesome.
Yeah,
I didn't hate Evita, but yeah, there is this other film. It's called Swept Away, and it is not a good film. There's a reason why a lot of people say that Guy Ritchie is only good when he's doing kind of crime movies and kind of comedy. Swept Away is neither of those. It is kind of a miserable movie. I definitely would not recommend seeing it, but it is his worst reviewed movie, and it won like every Razzie of the year when it was finally released, and it pretty much killed Madonna's acting career. After that, she hasn't been the lead in anything. I don't know if she's even acted in anything since then. But it took him out of movies for quite a while, and he had to kind of earn it back. I think it was, I can't remember how many years between that one and then when he finally was able to come back with Rock and Rolla, which is a very strange one that nobody really talks about, but it launched so many people's careers. But yeah, I think we talked about almost everything. I guess the other fun thing is his visual style. Again, his editing is like his strong suit, but if you just look at that last fight scene, my God, there's this really cool video on YouTube that goes through like every edit in there, but there's 200 something edits in just that fight scene alone. And I can't remember how many times they ramp up the speed, but they keep changing the actual like frame rate up and down to do. Buddy, stop whining. Sorry, my Rocco will not quit writing. But yeah, they keep changing and ramping up the frame rate so that you get these kind of slow-mo things, and then just the gorgeous visualness of actually, slowly getting knocked out and going under, where he does that with the water. So the other big error in this movie that everyone kind of points out is Brad Pitt's tattoos, especially in that last fight, especially in the scenes where he's like going into the water and stuff. Apparently they had to like hand draw those tattoos on, so they washed off and they didn't stay on very well, which is not a great thing. But to me, I mean, you really have to be looking for that to see it, so it doesn't feel like the
I
worst
never
mistake.
noticed it.
You can
Me neither.
kind of notice it, but
Probably if I rewatched it several times, like I would probably eventually see it. But
yeah,
I don't think it's something that a casual viewer would pick up on.
for sure. You'd have to be kind of looking for that, and then you're not enjoying what's supposed to actually be happening. But man, I love the weird angles that he chooses to use. You mentioned like some of the super close-ups, but it's also he does a lot of montages where people are kind of opening things and the camera's kind of in there. A lot of it reminds me of like the way that Tarantino puts like a camera in a trunk. But we get like the floor safe from Boris's, and it feels like he also has the case, I think, with Dennis Farina, and there's a whole bunch of different ones where it's kind of looking through some type of opening. One of the scenes that did get kind of cut from this, it was a really fun angle where it was from inside one of the slot machines in their Turk's arcade, and it's just showing these guys kind of playing the slot machine. And man, it was a really fun shot, but they cut that one for some reason. But I like a lot of the interesting angles that he uses, and then just man, he is such an artist with the editing. Just man, every scene just kind of works, and he understands comedic timing. So it's really weird to see some of the future movies that he makes. So yeah, it looks like Swept Away was 2002, and then he wasn't able to make another movie until 2005. So I guess it was only 3 years. But that one's Revolver. Nobody seems to really champion Revolver at all. And then he went to Rock and Roller, and then from there it was like another 7 years before they let him do like a major motion picture again. And that's when he did The Man from U.N.C.L.E. And then at the same time, he was prepping to do this King Arthur thing that was supposed to be a 6-picture franchise, and it just completely tanked. Just for some reason, nobody was interested in it. Like you think it's going to be some medieval sword thing, but you've got a lot of the same editing style as this, where I guess it could be seen as kind of a throwback editing because it was, like 17 years after Snatch, but it has a lot of that kind of classic, really fast editing thing that, they're not super into. And then after that,
did he really do a remake of The Man from U.N.C.L.E., that show from the 60s? I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's a 2015 one. It stars Henry Cavill and Armie Hammer. It's not bad, actually.
Never heard of it. I might look into that.
It's somewhere in one of my watch lists as well.
It's a fun movie, and a fun fact, Henry Cavill does this movie because he can have the role of James Bond, so he want to do a spy movie, so he choose to do this movie, and he kind of James Bond style in this movie, so yeah, that's why you need to see.
It's kind of fun.
Well, the original Man from U.N.C.L.E. was a TV show in the 60s, and it was kind of like a spoof of James Bond.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of what he's got going on here, but again, you'll see a lot of kind of Guy Ritchie-isms in there. And Henry Cavill kind of has the Jason Statham role in there where he's doing a lot of voiceover and narration. But I think it works. It's one of my more enjoyable ones that he's done. And then, sorry, I did skip over 2 of them in between. So in between Rock and Rolla and Man from U.N.C.L.E., he did do those 2 Sherlock movies. So in 2009, he did Sherlock Holmes. And then in 2011, it was Sherlock Holmes Game of Shadows, which is liked significantly less than the first one. It seems like it was not nearly as successful because it was supposed to be part of a trilogy, and they just kind of chopped off that third one. So then he went on to Man from U.N.C.L.E., and then after that, he was going to do his 6-picture franchise for King Arthur, which was supposed to spin off and do basically all of the Knights of the Round. That completely tanked. So what do you do after you've had like a bunch of these franchises that all kind of tank? He did Aladdin. I don't know if you guys saw the live action remake of Aladdin, but
I only heard about it. That sounds like a movie I want to see to laugh at it because everyone thinks it's bad.
For me,
it's kind of interesting. You get some Guy Ritchie editing, like especially in some of the Will Smith as the genie songs, like because he did do this heavy music video kind of background before, and he did this really fast-paced editing that is kind of to music, like in Snatch, like in Lock, Stock. Man, some of it kind of works, but still, it's Aladdin without Robin Williams, and they're taking the fun whimsicalness out of it.
For me, Aladdin is the best remake Disney have done the last year, because all the remake not work great, but this one is pretty close to that original, and Will Smith is not Robbie Williams, sure, but this version of the genie work pretty great for me. So you want to just see one remake of Disney, see this one.
I don't exactly disagree. It seems like he brought some things that are a little bit different to this one. And then to find out that the actress who did Jasmine and who was doing all the songs live is the main actress in Smile 2. It really kind of warms the cackles of my heart, and it makes me very happy. What can I say? Smile 2 is like my second favorite musical of the year. So I would like to go back and revisit Aladdin. When I watched it, I didn't realize it was Guy Ritchie. And then, man, to kind of look back at some of those musical numbers, just some of his editing is just like amazing and hard to kind of compete with. But yeah, I do feel like that one gets a little bit of a bad rap, but it's fun. And with that one, I did watch one kind of behind the scenes feature thing where he was doing a bunch of different so the frame rates were really changing, and he tried to keep everything either 12, 24, or 36 frames per minute, which meant that so that he could kind of speed up and slow down some of the scenes, especially some of the music scenes where they're doing like musical numbers, which meant that the actors had to actually record it at like almost 2 times the speed and still be 100% in sync with it, so that he could then slow it down later and make it look natural. Sorry, apparently my neighbor's doing something and it's making my dogs go crazy. But yeah, so I don't know. Some of that is really skilled work, and I don't think he's getting kind of the credit that he should deserve for it, when a lot of the other Disney live action remakes are not nearly as good. Sorry, I'm gonna need like 30 seconds to silence these up.
So I guess it's a takeover for now until he's back. So the Aladdin remake.
He talk about the Alf movie.
I haven't seen the remake, and honestly, I don't think I've seen the original.
Really?
I think I was just a little too old when that came out.
Really? Oh,
Yeah,
it's such a magical movie.
Yeah, I think I would have been about, I don't know, 12, 13 when that came out.
Man,
So now you're
Aladdin
age
is
shaming
so great.
movies? Who are you,
So-
multi? Come on.
So we got two multi now, right?
No,
now.
I would gladly watch it. It was just, I think at that particular age, I wasn't interested in that kind of movie.
Understandable. But
That
he's
makes
back.
sense.
Just see the one, because I think it's the trilogy now. You have 3 movies, but just the one is the classic.
Or I might have seen it, because the thing is, my younger sister, we're actually 11 years apart. So when I would babysit her and everything, we'd watch a lot of the kids' movies that were coming out at that time. So maybe I did see it.
It's totally worth seeing. It does borrow from some other things. Like there is a little bit of Jean Valjean in there, but still, it's great. You can't beat Robin Williams' performance.
I
They tried
yeah.
with Will Smith.
I loved Robin Williams. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, kind of going along those lines. So Aladdin didn't do particularly great for him, but they made their money back, which is kind of a good thing, I guess. But next he was able to do like The Gentleman, which is a really weird film. It's kind of interesting, but earlier this year they actually just did a TV show version of it for Netflix, which
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed. I enjoyed it a little bit more than the film, but man, that film has just an amazing cast. Like everyone that's in there is just over the top amazing. And then he's done a couple weird ones in between. He had another Jason Statham one, Wrath of Man, and then Operation Fortune, Ruse de Guerriere. It's a weird film from last year. And
Yeah,
then
I
The
agree
Covenant
with-
as well from last year.
I agreed with you. This last movie is not as good that this previous movie, but The Covenant is a very great movie with Jake Gyllenhaal. Is a war movie about the Afghanistan war, and man, Gucci is very good to film
Mhm.
this kind of type of movie. And The Covenant is one of the last movie he does is very great because many of the recent movie is just okay movie. It's funny, like the this last one is the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare with Henry
Mhm.
Cavill, and is World War Two movie. It's okay, it's funny. It's like Inglourious Bastard kind of thing, but it's not memorable. But The Covenant, man, it's just a great movie to see.
I agree with you. It feels not quite like a Guy Ritchie one. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of a man and his translator in Afghanistan and kind of their relationship and kind of the
Yeah.
pact that he makes with them. It's a really cool film, but it doesn't feel. I wouldn't tell you that that's the same guy who did this film, like Snatch. The editing in that and just the pacing feels so much different, but both are good films. And then I think my favorite thing that I've seen from him in a long time was that the Gentleman TV series, which is kind of interesting. At least three different projects of his got turned from one of his movies into a TV series, which is kind of interesting. Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, before he ever made Snatch, there was a TV show version of it. It didn't go very far. And then actually in 2017 there was a TV show version of Snatch, and it actually starred what's his name, Rupert Gint or whatever. Ron Weasley from the Harry Potter movies was kind of the main actor in the Snatch TV show.
Really?
And I think that one went on for a couple of seasons. I think it went to like 2019.
I'd never heard of it. I had heard of the Lock Stock series, and I knew that it didn't do very well, but I had no idea they made a
Mhm.
Snatch series.
Well, it's weird because it's like 17 years after the thing is out. Like, okay, let's make a TV series of it. I don't know. It made it at least 2 seasons, and I heard Rupert was good in there. I have not seen that one, but I did see his third series, which is The Gentleman, and it's based off of his 2019 movie, kind of, but it's kind of a reimagining of it. It was out earlier this year, and he directed the first 2 episodes in that series, and it is amazing. I just absolutely love that series. If you're into kind of the crime comedy thing, that one's a kind of different take on it. I really enjoyed it.
Correct me, I'm wrong, but the TV show The Gentleman is a prequel to the movie.
I think so. It's not exactly the same characters, and that's kind of the same thing with the Snatch one and the Lock, Stock one as well. I don't believe it's the exact same characters that you see in the movies. It's just kind of similar worlds and similar crime feel.
Okay, good to know.
But I thoroughly enjoyed that one a little bit more than the movie, and that's because you really got to know these characters. And it stars Theo James, who's just awesome in that, and you can tell that dude's going to be big. But yeah, overall, I would say I hope you enjoyed this multi. I want to show you that Statham can be
did.
better.
I did enjoy it. Thank you a lot, Jay. Amazing movie. I'm wondering if any of you would like to add more.
You talk about the TV show. You missed to talk about the future TV show he project and direct. Is a spin-off by a prequel to the Sherlock Holmes movie. Young Sherlock was announced this year for the next year, and he is about the young version of the Sherlock Holmes we have in this movie. He does. So I'm excited to see this TV show for. I want to mention that here. So yeah.
Not only that, but Aladdin 2 is now in development.
Yeah.
So,
Oh wow!
Yeah, exactly.
Like we needed a third one or whatever the number should be.
And they have three animated movie, like I said before. So it's not bizarre
Why?
to see that.
Why? One was what we needed.
The first
Why
Aladdin movie was a classic, so Disney want to do a sequel. He does that for Lian, the King Lian, for Mermaid,
Lion King.
King, Mermaid, etc. When a movie become a classic, he does a prequel and sequel to this movie. So Tarzan I don't think this bizarre, but I'm not sure it's work for a sequel to the version the Girichi does. But we'll wait and see. This December, we have Mustafa is the sequel of the remake of the Lion King. So it's not bizarre. He didn't try to create this new word of a remake. Not all movie work, but he tried. He tried.
The remake of The Lion King was terrible. Anyway,
Well, he does have a cool one coming up next year. Maybe I just like it because of the title, but for 2025, it stars Henry Cavill, Eliza Gonzalez, Jake Gyllenhaal, and Rosamund Pike, who are all awesome. And I guess Fisher Stevens is kind of coming back for this one. But yeah, it revolves around two extraction specialists who have to designate a route of escape for a senior female negotiator. So, you know, it's going to be people undercover, but it's called In the Gray, which sounds awesome to me for some reason.
yeah, yeah, I'm with you, man. That's your movie, right?
That could also be the title of your porno movie.
Oh my!
Oh my god!
I did not want that picture in my mind. I will give.
You're welcome.
A 10 out
wrong,
of 10.
man. It's so wrong.
What about you, Matt?
My score?
Yeah.
I think I would give a 7 of 10. For me, it was a funny movie with a good editing, good storytelling, great character. But in the end, I don't emerge totally in this movie. I feel like the story need more focus, less twist, and more focus on the storytelling. But overall, you see, this the formula of which you start here, and for that, it's interesting to see. And for Jim Salam debut career before he become a action figure, you can see he have talent to do other things that just brainless character with a gun and kill everybody in the room with no air, because in the Snatch he have air. After that, he not have air for the other movie. So like Bruce Willis in the early career. But yeah, for me it's a 7 of 10. It's a good and funny movie from England to see.
Perfect. What about you, Gray? What's your grade out of 10?
On Letterboxd, I think I gave it a 4.5, so I guess that makes it like a 9. Perhaps I have this in a higher nostalgic value than a lot of people. But looking on IMDb, it gets about like an 8.2 out of 10. So I'm not super far off of everybody else. I think the one thing that I didn't talk about was so it had a budget of £6 million, and 1 million of that apparently went to Madonna, but it was able to gross 83 million worldwide, which is kind of nice. It's weird to hear it as like a total success, only being 83 million, but this was 24 years ago, and money has gotten ridiculous now. But it's kind of fun.
On a 6 million budget, that's a hell of a return. So
it is, and man, 6 million budget. I understand this is 20 or 2000 money, but still, I love like a mid-level film like this. Like things don't have to be $250 million. But sorry, Superbald, I don't think you gave your score. What would you give this movie?
To me, this is going to be 8.5. It's a great movie. Like I said, I had been meaning to watch it for a long time and just never got around to it because I was a big fan of Lock, Stock, and I find this is a good sophomore effort. It's actually, and I would say, a good companion to this movie as well.
Well, thank you for sharing. So I guess we are now at the section where we talk about the movies we have seen since last Tuesday, and I guess what we plan on seeing until the end of the year, because that's actually the last RedBlue we are having in 2024 already. We are going on break. So what have you seen, Superbald, outside of Snatch?
I actually, despite my crazy ass schedule, I actually found time to watch Bone Tomahawk, and I quite liked it. And I do plan on seeing. I saw the TV Glow. I wanted to watch it before this podcast, but I just couldn't fit it in.
That's still very good. We will talk about that next week, but not on stream, on recording. Outside of that, anything else?
No. I wish I had more time to watch other stuff.
It's okay.
Since we started doing this podcast, there's just like a bunch of stuff I want to rewatch, old movies I haven't seen in a long time, movies I've never seen, and it's just finding the time, unfortunately.
That's fine. Things
Life keeps
happen.
getting in the way.
Yeah.
Stupid obligations.
Matt, what have you seen recently in the last week? And what do you want to see in the following week?
Like we see a movie together in cinema. For the first time, we see each other in real life, so it was
Yeah.
cool. We see Red One is a new movie of the Rock. Is a Christmas movie, and it was a okay movie. But like we talk about the budget, this movie has a crazy budget, 2,050 million of budget for a Christmas movie. Christmas movie is insane for me. I think it will fail in box office, but it's okay for what it is. I see Saturday Night about the first presentation the big TV show on the USA.
Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, exactly. He does
The first ever episode, yeah.
air, and this movie is about the night before the hour before
The
the
hour and a
first
half.
before the premiere, and it was a nice movie with a great casting, many new many young actor with a great talent in there. So I recommend to see that. I see Emilia Perez. One the movie many people talk about this year. One of the the best movie of the year. Not for me, but I see why some people say one of the best movie of the year. Is interesting movie about identity and about the culture of Mexico, and about the comedy musical comedy. I don't know. So yeah, it's a interesting movie to see. A great realization. I start a new TV show. The new TV show Landman is a new TV show for I rephrase that. Taylor Sheridan is a great creator about the movie and the TV show. He script all many good things like the Yellowstone universe, the Tulsa King, the TV show with Sylvester Stallone, and now he started a new TV show in Landman about the industry of petrol and Texas, and very interesting to follow this show. So I recommend that too. And for the future, I want to see Wicked. Interesting to see that. I want to see Gladiator 2, Anora, Juror 2, the last movie of Clint Eastwood. I really want to see that one. And just for the fun, I want to see Kraven the Hunter, just for the fun, because I really see all the other movie of the Sonyverse, so I need this one to conclude at that. And I think that for it all for me. Yeah.
These are great projects, and there's a lot of these things I will also watch, and others I did see. Great. What are your watch list, and what have you seen in the last few days?
Yeah. So I guess like you guys, I recently saw Red One, and yeah, I don't know why it was $250 million, but I guess
the Rock have 15 just for him,
yeah, well, I mean, it was 50 million just for The Rock, so
Yeah.
you would think that they would have to make that much opening weekend, but they made 32.1 million opening weekend. So
Yeah.
it's weird, like they're not going to make money off of this, but it was supposed to be a streaming movie initially, so Amazon then beefed up the budget a little bit and then sent it to theaters. And then they did this weird Variety article, excuse me, saying that essentially they're not trying to make their money back on it. The only thing they're looking to make back on it is the $100 million that they put into P&A, which is like promotion and advertising. And if they make that 100 million back, then it's just basically free promotion for this movie that would have been direct to streaming, and it'll just get that many more eyes on it. Which is a weird strategy. That we're losing.
Something that happens though with Christmas movies is that they tend to make their money later because they'll get repeated every year at Christmas time.
I'm not sure
and
this
I
one
Like
would be
Macaulay Culkin essentially nowadays just lives off the residuals he gets every year for Home Alone.
Yeah, and I do believe with them releasing it this early, it will be able to be on streaming on Amazon by Christmas. So interesting. I don't know. It's a bold strategy. I'm not sure if it's going to pay off for them, but I guess they're not looking for it to. So
speaking of Red One, are you by any chance? I know you're a very occupied man, but are you by any chance available Thursday, 5 p.m.? Because we'll talk about that, Matt. I think
so. If I am, I might jump on. But
perfect.
Yeah, it's such a weird movie, but I guess it's supposed to launch a franchise that isn't just going to be Christmas movies. They got a little bit of flavor in there, but you got all these different holiday characters. So, it's a universal, a multiverse of characters that they can all use that are all interconnected. So that one was kind of a disappointment. I absolutely love the first Gladiator, and I happened to get a sneak preview of the second one. I do not hold it in the same reverence. I want to watch it a second time so I can pinpoint exactly where it doesn't quite work for me. But yeah, it was a really big letdown for me when I really love that first one. To me, it seems like it's kind of suffering from what a lot of Ridley Scott's recent films have kind of suffered with, and it's characterization. I don't know these characters. I don't know their motivations. I want to know them more. I feel like that was my main problem with like Napoleon and then The Duel before that. But it looks really beautiful. The fights are really epic. He really gets the garb and the like sets. They look amazing and they look epic. But yeah, I guess I just wanted a little bit more what I got out of that first one. But I did see a couple of really fun comedies. Let's Start a Cult, I thought was pretty awesome. Comedian Stavi Halkias, he did an amazing job with I think his first film. And then I think my favorite comedy of the year I ended up seeing, it's this Irish film called Kneecap, and it's really kind of amazing, and it's raunchy in its comedy form, but it really has an interesting message about it, and it really has to do with Irish language and kind of the importance of it. And I was moved way more than I thought I would be about some movie about Irish drug dealers and rappers. So yeah, I would definitely recommend seeing that movie. But yeah, I'm looking forward to a couple of them coming out. I would like to see Wicked. I saw that musical like 10 years ago. I would definitely like to see what they're doing as far as the actual production of it, because I'm already hearing some buzz that the main character, which I cannot remember her name for the life of me, is going to be nominated for Best Actress. Then I hear Ariana Grande might be nominated for Best Supporting.
What?
Interesting. I wouldn't have thought so for a musical, but apparently they're just like amazing performances. So that's the buzz.
I ate Ariana Grande.
Well, just wait until you see her as Glenda
God
the Good
dang.
Witch. But yeah, other than that, I'm looking forward to Standing on the Shoulders of Kitties, which is Bubbles from the Trailer Park Boys' first film on his own. So yeah, I want to follow that character, and then
Can I tell you something?
Nosferatu. Yeah,
Can I tell you something? I have actually been in Trailer Park Boys.
Oh hell yeah! Could I ask where, or would that
be they not the series, but they made 3 movies, and I was an extra in the third one, the one called Don't Legalize It.
Oh, that is awesome, man. Yeah, I saw them when they were on tour for that first movie. I happened to be in Canada at the time, and they were just taking that one everywhere. And
so I actually got to meet. I met the guy who plays Bubbles, the guy who plays Ricky.
Oh yeah.
The guy who plays Julian was not in any of the scenes that I was in, so I didn't meet him.
Aww.
But I met I met the late John Dunsworth.
Oh, he was the best, man.
Yeah, and
I absolutely love him.
Pat Roach, who plays.
Oh, Bo Bandy. I love it,
Yes.
Randy.
Oh, and the scenes were they were filming in Ottawa, and it was like fucking 0 degrees, and he's always shirtless. And in the scenes that he was in, he was actually in his underwear. He was in his tighty whities.
Wow.
Damn.
He
That must
actually
be freezing.
walked past me once between takes, and he just looks at me. He's like, it's cold in Ottawa.
No shit.
That's awesome, man. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. It's Bubbles on his own. That who doesn't want that? And I guess the Trailer Park Boys are there, but much smaller roles. What about you, Multi? What have you been watching, sir?
I've seen McScene. So that makes me watch. Like, I actually finished watching the X franchise. That was surprisingly good. Outside of that, I did end up seeing Red One, popcorn flick, as Matt called it. We will talk about that Thursday.
So 9.5 for you?
No. Outside of that, I did end up finishing Agatha All Along at last.
Nice.
I was surprised because I didn't like the first 3 episodes, and the back half surprised me a lot.
Did you
best.
watch WandaVision?
Yeah?
Sorry, I didn't mean
No.
to talk over you, Matt.
No, not yet.
You need to see WandaVision because it's the continuation of the WandaVision. But Agatha is one of the best Marvel TV show Disney does in past year. But not all episodes are great, but the last 2-3 episodes, man, such a great story.
I'm with you on that, and I cannot wait to review it. And since both you and Dre have seen it, maybe we'll schedule at some point something to talk about that. Outside of that, I did end up watching The Penguin. I only have seen 7 out of 8 episodes, so I want to see the next one right after this. And I plan on watching Superman and Lois final season because it's about to end the entire show and the Arrowverse, a universe I did follow since the start. So it's kind of sad to see it going away. But I'm looking forward for James Gunn stuff in the future. Next year, actually. Outside of that, I will do a big marathon of 2024 movies. I really hope I will end up watching at least 100 2024 movies. I'm at 71 right now, so I'm close from that goalpost, whatever. Outside of that, I will be missing the show when we get on break until January. So a month and a half without RedBlue. That was a great journey, and this is the segue to the outro. What do you have going on your end of the internet, Gray?
Not too much. Videos eventually, but yeah, every Thursday go over to That Darn Kidda's channel for The Thinkers. It's usually Thursday mornings. It's people from at least 3 different continents. I believe it's 4 now, getting together, disagreeing about everything. I can't remember what the topic's going to be this week, but if you want to see some people argue and then walk away amicably, come by, enjoy yourself. YouTube at That Darn Kidda. Other than that, videos eventually. I guess go ahead and ring the bell or whatever. That's all I got going on. What about you, Matt? You got anything going on?
Like always, I see stuff and I write about them. So, but in French, so not for the audience of the podcast. Other than that, basic life. I work and I see movie and TV show. It's pretty much my life, and I play video game when I have time. So nothing different the other week. So yeah, the same.
That's great. We are the same. We are like people that are used to doing the same kind of stuff. That's amazing. That's wonderful. Superbald, what do you have going on?
Yep, same old. No change.
Dang,
Pretty
we are
bridge.
playing it safe. Our lives are so crazy. We are so safe.
Oh, my life is crazy, unfortunately, but yeah.
Outside of that, well, I said it. Thursday we got a Red One review, and probably it will be only Matt and myself, maybe a great cameo in chat or on stream. We will see if we are lucky enough. Outside of that, Gladiator, I will talk about that Saturday, because I will go see that movie on Friday. Looking forward, and maybe we will have D-Lord on, because he asked me if I plan on watching it, and yes, I do. Outside of that, a gaming stream next weekend, because I got time next weekend. And outside of that, I think we are out. Thank you, guys. We had a blast. I'm looking forward to come back in January with MCU movies. And yeah, I think we did it. This show was great. Thank you, Dre. As usual, you kind of carried the show on your shoulders. Like, you spoke for like 40 minutes about Snatch. That's amazing, man. So I think we are officially out with this.
Yeah, RedBlue podcast. Come check the scene. Movies old and new. Know what I mean?